So it's come to the point where Activision is pulling the plug on Warzone Caldera, and this is a huge deal because they've never pulled the plug on a title before ever. You can go back to the original Call of Duties, whether you want to play Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, or Black Ops 1, or a Black Ops 2, or Modern Warfare 2, the originals, you can still play those today. They are viable options to play today. Do they have a lot of players? No. Could you potentially get hacked on? Yes, there are issues with them, but they are still available on the market for purchase and to play. So this is a huge precedent that the free-to-play version of the game is essentially being taken off the market. And this is a huge deal for several different reasons. Obviously, there's people who have nostalgia value tied to the original version of Warzone. With COVID lockdown, it brought in a lot of returning players who fell in love with COD again, even if it was a slightly different version that they originally played back then, or had never played before. And it's not only a precedent for Call of Duty, it really hasn't happened pretty much in gaming where this happens unless like a studio shuts down or something like that, where they just can't afford to keep the servers running. So this is definitely an anomaly, especially since Blackout is still playable now, purchasable as part of Black Ops 4. Right now, you can jump on, play, you can play Alcatraz, and you have no problem keeping those servers up for a game that you would imagine is more dead than Warzone 1, which probably didn't have a large player base, maybe more just because there's a lot of holdouts that are hoping that they would fix Warzone 2. It never eventually happened, even though they made some good changes recently. It wasn't enough to keep you going if your main thing was movement and slide canceling. Those weren't inherently part of COD. The other part is this is going to happen on September 21st, so it should be right around the time that COD Mobile is dropping their Warzone mobile app that'll allow you to play, which I think is live in certain regions, in the Modern Warfare 2 engine, essentially, but on mobile, right? So that's going to be gone, and that'll be an alternative. So maybe they're going to try and push people towards Warzone 2, which no longer has the 2, but for sake of understanding Warzone 2 and the mobile, right? The tricky part is that a lot of people played and continue to play the free versions of Call of Duty, which are Warzone 1, Warzone 2, which also includes Plunder, DMZ, all these various things. And those people, when they pull the plug on this, if you bought skins, you would essentially have to buy Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, and or Vanguard to see or utilize those skins that you purchased on the free-to-play game. This is very tricky, and why I bring this up, because this is completely different than how other games have handled it. Obviously, we've had Fortnite when they modified their engine, they carried all the skins forward. COD should have done that instead of being greedy. CS just had their big, huge update to bring their game into like a modern era in terms of graphics and improvements and optimization. And even that, they essentially carried everything over that the game has had for over a decade. And those are the right ways to do it, because what happens if you know, no matter what, when you buy something, you'll be able to use it in the future going forward. This kind of shakes that up a little bit, and it's unfortunate because I don't know why they would do something like this, because it de-incentivizes or discourages us, the consumer, from ever buying anything in the store, knowing that it'll just be taken away from us at any time. Obviously, like I said, taken away, you can still go back on the other version, but if you don't actively play multiplayer and you have no reason to play multiplayer, you don't buy multiplayer, you're playing the free-to-play version, which is the vast majority of players currently of the game. Even if you happen to buy it, you're also a free-to-play player on the other part of it. You have no reason to buy that stuff. Even if you think it looks cool, you know that, hey, you know what? They could take it away at any point. Is it really worth $20? These other games that I mentioned, they can handle it fine, right? And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, they just want to get people on Warzone 2. I don't think they actually care about that. Because the reality is there's not a lot of people playing Warzone Caldera. It's just not. It wasn't as popular than Verdansk, and Rebirth is gone. So there's not a lot of people on there. And typically, even if you preferred Warzone 1 over Warzone 2, a lot of player counts in general are driven by support for the game. So examples of this are like Battlefield and Halo. They took them forever to actually support their game. They might have come out, not necessarily Battlefield, but Halo came out hot, but they didn't support their game and they didn't foster a good community around the game for the new people playing it. And XDefiant has an opportunity to do this as well where it launches, but if it doesn't have a solid roadmap going forward and content to keep it going, it could falter. Apex Legends had a similar issue where they came out, their first season was garbage. It was not the content the community wanted and people jumped ship. Eventually they were able to get a lot of people back, but this is what my main point is, that Warzone Caldera literally had no update. So they weren't having anything in the game to keep people there, to draw them back for a specific event, to try it again. Literally, it was like a time capsule of what Warzone was the last days of COD, Warzone Caldera, before Warzone 2 came out. Essentially, that's all it was. And that's okay if you enjoy that. You get a little bit of nostalgia, you jump on every now and again, but you are definitely in the minority. You either went to Warzone 2, playing multiplayer of some kind, or jump to a completely different game, which is perfectly fine because there are a lot of games. One thing I will point out is that, and to keep in mind, is that eventually Warzone 2 will eventually become Warzone 3, whatever that is. Whether that's in 2 years when Treyarch has their title, or when Infinity Ward makes their next title after Treyarch, or whatever, however that is going to work. I don't see them going the Fortnite route. So keep that in mind. More than likely, at this point, based off what they've done, their actions show that this is how they're going to handle updates in the future. So I would be very hesitant about spending any money on this game. I don't do it anyways, but in general, it's kind of one of those things that you can go in and go, yeah, I don't know if that's worth it. They're just going to take it away from it. Unless you just really think a cool skin, you want the bunny ears or whatever the case is, you kind of have those options for you. So it is unfortunate because this is happening. But you know, it is what it is. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.